Are you paying attention? We're paying attention. You need to pay attention. The stake starts now. Welcome everyone to The Stakes. I'm Tara Setmayer. This is Michelle Kinney. We are the co-founders of the Seneca Project, and we are here with another episode of The Stakes. Michelle is enjoying some lovely time off in a place much warmer than where I am, and she deserves it. Thus, the fresh-faced look today in the different background. So I am jealous of you, Michelle. I wish I was there with you, but good for you. Good for you, honey. But we still wanted to make sure we brought you an episode of The Stakes this week, and God bless Michelle for taking time off from her vacation with her hubby to do it, because there's some stuff going on, maybe you noticed, that we think is important. And I mean, the flurry of news and the shock and awe of everything that's gone on, we're literally 1 month into this. It's 1 month.
Today, 1 month.
1 month. It's a freaking month, Michelle. Oh my God. There's a lot. But there's some things that, besides just all the headlines of alarming shit that's happening, the dismantling of our federal agencies, which is continuing at a very rapid pace, the indiscriminate firing of federal workers, kind of important ones, like, oh, I don't know, people who work in our nuclear program, people in the IRS, food safety, the CDC, the people who are scientists that are monitoring the bird flu and pandemics, and I don't know, there's a measles outbreak in Texas,
and tuberculosis.
Name your plague, okay? And Donald Trump and Elon Musk are still trying to shove it in our faces that what they're doing is good for us. It's just about waste, fraud, and abuse. It's just audits. I mean,
people believe it, which is just honestly.
But you know what? People, as it's cascading, the effect is cascading down. People are starting to feel the effects of this. They're going to start screaming about it more. I mean, polling is already showing that Trump is starting to go underwater again. Because MAGA, like I said last week, MAGA's realizing that this is coming for them too. This impacts them too. You know, Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and all these government services. And it's not just these big contracts and stuff. No, it's like the National Park Service, people in Wyoming getting laid off. And then people are worrying about, like, wait, what's going to happen to our national parks? Why are they getting laid off? The Forestry Service, the 1,000 people at the VA. So when all these MAGA veterans go to try to get their services at the VA, and it's like, whoops, sorry, too bad.
Well, I mean, I've talked about this. My sister-in-law just retired from the Marines after 20 years, and she's enjoying a little time to herself right now, and then trying to figure out what she's going to do with the rest of her life. And because she's only in her mid-40s. And my husband and I were talking about it last night. I'm like, well, I hope that she's going to get her pension.
Right.
I hope that she's going to get her disability. Like, I'm like, these are things that, I mean, feel kind of silly to say, but it's like, no, it's real. Like,
it's real.
The veterans of this country who have risked their lives and their health and their bodies to keep us safe might be left in the dust, because let's be honest, suckers and losers. That's how these people feel. I mean, Donald Trump dodged the draft in Vietnam to go to Vietnam by faking an ailment, right? Bone spurs. Same with Elon Musk. He dodged, mandatory service in South Africa by he went to, I think, what was it?
Canada.
Yeah, he went to college in Canada and then, transferred to UPenn. So same thing. These people, they see themselves as, in like a feudalism kind of way, like they're up here and everybody else is down here to serve them,
which informs a lot of how they're behaving with this indiscriminate red penning of destroying people's lives, right? Like, there are people, the federal government is, and the people who work in it are overwhelmingly good and decent Americans who are civil servants who are there to serve our country, where
Mhm.
a lot of them, especially the experts that are the crown jewel of our federal government, they could be in private sector making billions of dollars
Yeah.
or millions of dollars, and but no, they've decided to have live a modest life and give their service and their expertise to our government so that we live in a thriving democracy. And
Yep.
Elon Musk, at the direction of Donald Trump, with his blessing, is destroying that. And
Mhm.
the goods and services that are provided to the American people across the board. This is bigger than party. Okay, we've said this
Oh,
before.
yeah.
We've said this about the assault on women's rights and them coming for women. This is bigger than party. Transcends party lines. Okay, they're coming for everybody, and it is, in fact, causing a crisis in this country where the fabric of what makes our democracy and our government work is being ripped apart. And Donald Trump is sitting, in his golf cart and taking his fat ass golfing while Elon Musk is out here.
Spending millions of dollars to do
Yes,
so.
millions of dollars, by the way. I don't know where the waste, fraud, and abuse police is with that.
Right.
Going to the Daytona 500, to the Super Bowl, and
Right.
down in Mar-a-Lago, and golfing every day, and all of this nonsense, right? That I've got news for you. You know how many people's jobs could be paid
Mhm.
for, and programs that are actually worthy could be paid for with Donald Trump and his leisure trips and his bullshit that he's doing?
Mhm.
A lot. I've got news for you. This whole thing about waste, fraud, and abuse is nothing but a veneer. It's a
Mhm.
shield. It's not about that. This is not a normal audit. People who use that as an example, yeah, companies come in and they have people audit and they want to see, okay, where can we be more efficient, blah, blah, blah. They don't hand the keys to the company over to people who are not vetted, who don't work for the company, who don't answer to the board of directors or whomever. They don't just hand the keys over to the auditors and say, okay, go ahead and do whatever you want. That's not what they do. They do an assessment. They bring it back to the people who actually have oversight and make decisions, and they
Right.
take a look and review it and say, we like this, we don't like this, we'll take this suggestion or not. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's what people thought Doge was going to be. When they said, oh, Americans voted for this. Yeah, they voted for what they thought was going to be like a blue ribbon commission that was going to say, yeah, okay. And
Right.
then and Congress, who actually is elected by the people, who has the power of oversight and the power of the purse and the constitutional order, that was going to dictate what we did here, not Elon Musk and his 20-something-year-old hacker guys. Like, this is not. So stop letting people bullshit you into saying that this is what the American public voted for. Some of them, but most of them, no, this is not what they thought it was going to be. And we're seeing more and more anecdotes come out, particularly from the MAGAs. I'm sitting back like, well, you get what you
Oh,
deserve.
well.
But unfortunately, all of us have to pay the price. So we're
Yeah.
all in this shit together. And that leads me to some of the, some of the headlines about what's going on. And I mean, Michelle, you had to fly and you were like scared to death to get on a plane. Who could blame you? Who could
Yeah.
blame you? Elon Musk has his SpaceX guys now taking over the FAA.
Yeah, that's
Rolling.
like been as recent as I mean, they've been talking about it, but as recent as this week, they're in there now.
Mhm.
And there's 4 people doing the job of 15 people at the FAA.
Yep. Rolling
Which is
Stone did a story on this.
right, which is making me feel some kind of way. And I've talked about this on the show and on our other show Over It, that I've struggled with flying for a very long time, and it's really kept me from seeing and experiencing things that I've wanted to do. And I've done a lot of work to really work through that.
Mhm.
And I feel
That's
like
out
I
the window now.
finally got there. I was like, yes, I'm going to go on trips. Yay. And then this happened. I was like, I did not have this on my bingo card. I really didn't.
No,
I knew
none
that
of
they
it.
were going to dismantle and be destructive and like do lots of really bad things and purge the government. I didn't think the FAA would be one of them.
Right.
Stupid me, which the lack of imagination, to my point, I should have taken my own advice there.
Well, yeah. I mean, we thought they were gonna come for the FBI, the
Yeah.
intelligence community. We knew they were gonna do that.
Sure.
But like the CDC, the NIH, the FAA, research facilities, college universities, and like we all knew that they didn't like DEI. We already knew
Right.
that, but like
Right.
basically saying that everything is DEI and just to try to erase anything concerning minorities, people of color, women, I mean, and so
Anything that's
quickly.
not a straight Christian
Right.
white man.
Right. And so quickly. Like it's I think the swiftness of it is
Yeah.
also I don't think we anticipated. I mean, we did warn people that Hitler basically dismantled German democracy in 6 months. So
Which
um
Governor Pritzker talked about, and we don't have the speech with us today, but I
it's
urge
out there on the
everyone,
socials.
I urge everyone to go just do a quick little Google search for Pritzker's speech yesterday. I think it was like
Governor
a
of
state of,
Illinois.
yes, it was like a state of the state thing, right?
Yeah, he did it from
Or-
the Illinois State House, and
yeah.
he's you know, sounding the alarm and made some really good points about tyranny and about like we can't be
Mhm.
silent, and this is not what we this is not okay, and to
No.
kind of rally the troops a bit. He's
And
one
you
of
want to
the
talk about
only
a rich
people.
guy? He's
Yeah,
like a
billionaire.
billionaire. And that doesn't, it hasn't corrupted him to an extent that, these other crazy people,
I
here's
know.
somebody who really cares about the country, who cares about doing the right thing, understands how fragile this is. And
Mm-hmm.
it is fragile. And this has all
Mm-hmm.
been kept together for centuries now by just a general trust and agreement that we have here that this paper document that we're all going to live our lives by matters.
Yep.
And all it really took was a couple decades and just the right guy and a whole lot of money.
And a major propaganda operation
Yes.
of flooding the zone with bullshit and
Mm-hmm.
manipulating people and weaponizing the information space in a way that has really, really damaged our country. I will never forgive the Republicans and Fox News and the right wing ecosystem that I came from unwittingly. I did not know that what was going on was going to
Yeah.
ultimately result in this. I really didn't. I believed in traditional Republican principles and conservatism, not this fascism
Right.
shit.
Which again, I mean, to an extent, I think was a veneer to try to hide like a more sinister, game plan for the
Right.
long term.
But not for
Which
everyone. Like, it wasn't for
no.
everyone. What
Right.
happened is that a few evil geniuses
Mm-hmm.
exploited the weakness and the fecklessness of the Republican leadership. Because this could not have been done unless Republican leaders acquiesced, which they did, because they were so weak-kneed that they were like, oh my God, this is like a taste of power. We love it. It's
Right.
like my precious. It's like, the ring and Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
and Gollum, right? They all,
Right.
and it turned them into these monsters. And now they're slaves to this authoritarian march that we're on, and letting these techno billionaires come in and manipulate them as the useful
Yes.
idiots they are, with Donald Trump being the first one at the top.
That's
Which
right.
which
And
leads us to what like the main thing we wanted to talk about today when I said pay attention at the top of the show. Because Michelle went down a rabbit hole, and it got me down the rabbit hole. And I went, oh my God, some of this is making more sense now. Because we've been trying to figure out, like, what is going on? I know a lot of Americans are going like, okay, what is happening? I don't understand what's happening. Why is this
Mhm.
happening? We warned people about JD Vance and about this whole tech bro, crypto bro, like weirdo billionaire class of people who are not from America, right? Most of them,
Mhm.
a bunch of them are from South Africa. It's not just
Which is
Elon, it's Mark Andreessen,
crazy.
it's David Sachs, it's Peter Thiel, right?
And the guy who owns the LA Times,
Yes, whose name I can't pronounce, but he's
I
another
can't
one
either.
from
Yeah.
South Africa. And the fact that the influence of apartheid, the fact that Elon Musk's grandparents left Canada, they were part of the Canadian Nazi Party, and they
Crazy.
went to South Africa because they felt more comfortable in
Right.
the oppressive apartheid
Which, just
segregated
as an aside, that's his
community.
mom's side. That's Elon Musk's mom's parents. And the fact that she is still allowed in polite society and especially in the fashion world. I
Right.
see her in pictures at fashion events and society fashion events in Europe and other places. The fact that she is still allowed in is mind-boggling to me.
I
But
know.
anyways, continue.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people realize that his mother is this
Yeah.
like fashion socialite person. And then his father was a Nazi sympathizer. And I don't know if I brought this up on the show before about how Elon got his name from a Nazi scientist science fiction book, this novel about colonizing Mars. And the astronauts get there and they find out that Mars is already colonized and it's ruled by a dictator called the Elon.
Right.
And that's where, and his father read that book in the 40s or 50s.
Written
or
by
whatever,
a Nazi scientist.
written
Which
by
is
a
like,
Nazi
what?
scientist, and was like, yes, I'm going to name my son that. And that's where Elon Musk got his name.
And
So,
here we
I
are.
mean, this is all, the thread of all of this is very alarming. And we were warning about JD Vance over the summer and where he came from and the influence that Peter Thiel had on him. And Peter Thiel and his money has bought his way into a lot of these things. And he's got a very wacko view of the world
and women.
And of
he's
women.
a gay man. He's a
Right.
billionaire gay man who hates women and has this very dystopian view of what the world should be. And I don't know, maybe somebody else out there knows how Peter Thiel and JD Vance met. I don't know.
So I think that it has to do with when Vance was at Yale, Thiel came there and gave a speech, or he saw a speech that he gave and he liked it. And he reached out to him and Thiel was like, oh, come work for me. And then that's how it all started. And Thiel basically has bankrolled JD Vance's entire adult life career. And you know, his startup out there, tens of millions of dollars. And then he went back to Ohio to do this weird thing that Peter Thiel financed, and then to the tune of $10 million. And then when he decided to run for Senate, he bankrolled his whole Senate campaign at $15 million, which is a lot of money for an Ohio Senate race.
Yeah, one of the largest, if not the largest single donation to a campaign ever in American politics.
And JD Vance was like, he was losing in the primary and until Thiel infused
what was it, Mandel?
Yes.
Forget his name, because I remember Donald Trump called him JP Mandel.
It was and JD Vance was like in second or third place, and then
I remember.
And all of a sudden it turned around. Right, all of a sudden it turned around because Peter Thiel was whispering in Trump's ear, also by way of Don Jr. Don Jr. is an acolyte of Peter Thiel, and so like. This is all very weird, okay? Puppet strings over here being pulled. Well, we went down this rabbit hole about this other guy named Curtis Yarvin. Now, if you've never heard of him, don't feel bad. A lot of people have never heard of him.
I didn't know who he was.
We didn't know who he was until this week.
And the two of us are like, eat, breathe this stuff 24/7. And I'm like,
pretty well informed. And we missed this because there was so much going on, right? It's flood the zone with shit, so things will get through. This was one of them. This guy, Curtis Yarvin, is this like obscure software engineer out there in Silicon Valley who prides himself in being a political theorist. And he has really wacko views. I'm telling you, the stuff that he talks about basically is about dismantling American democracy, saying that the American people, there's all these manifestos out there, Curtis Yarvin. They're out there on Substack, you can Google him. He has all these manifestos, very lengthy, where he talks about how the United States needs to get over its dictator phobia and that democracy needs to go away and it should be replaced with a bunch of like mini corporate run fiefdoms that subjugate any working people, poor people, subjects them to this dystopian like Big Brother society. And by the way, it should be run by tech CEOs.
Yes.
And we should get rid of our regular states, get rid of our countries, and make them into mini fiefdoms run by tech CEOs.
Now,
then go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say that this may just seem like he's just some fringe person who's like, I'm not going to spend any time worrying about that. Oh, no. We should all spend all the time worrying about this because this man, he's only 51 years old. He is in the ear of the Vice President of the United States and has been for years. I went back 2, 3, 4 years reading articles in Vanity Fair that, again, I missed because I really wasn't taking a lot of this seriously.
Right.
Warning of this.
Yes.
He is the person. Curtis Yarvin is the singular person who has influenced the worldview of Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance.
Yep.
He is the one. Think about Scientology. Think about L. Ron Hubbard. Okay, how he's the person who started Scientology. This is Curtis Yarvin. It's called like a I've got the headline here, but it's like a reactionary movement.
Yep.
And
I think it's called Neo-reactionary, isn't it?
I think so. I think that's right.
Yeah.
And there is
some people call it techno-feudalism also. That's another term.
Which there is like a PayPal mafia, they are kind of calling it too, like all these original PayPal people.
People need to remember Elon Musk, Peter Thiel were original founders of PayPal.
Well, that's the funny thing too, because Elon Musk was not a founder.
Well,
he calls himself a founder, but he wasn't. And actually he was so annoying that everybody kicked him out.
And what did he want to do? He wanted to turn PayPal into, call it X. Yeah. And turn it into some like weirdo payment processing thing that wasn't what it is now.
Revenge of the Nerds if it was just a horror movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing is, I sat by the pool yesterday and, you know, because I can't relax and I can't take a break.
No, she sat by the pool yesterday, doom scrolling about Curtis Yarvin, who wants to turn us all.
Yeah, so then I'm like scroll and I'm like, Tara, oh my God, I'm sending all this stuff. And like, you read this stuff and you feel almost crazy. Like you're going down some conspiracy theorist rabbit hole. But I'm going to show you, just so you guys can see, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is very real.
It's very real. And Peter Thiel calls this guy, is part of he has this term for people in his orbit called the Thielverse. And he considers this guy to be his political guru. His whole political philosophy has been shaped by Curtis Yarvin.
Yep. And so this is his Wikipedia page, just so people can see. He went to Brown and UC Berkeley. He's not a dummy, obviously. Sorry, I was telling Tara before he came on, the air conditioning is like getting to my eyeballs. So I'm like, oh gosh. So yeah, so he has a newsletter called The Gray Mirror. That's kind of where he put all his crazy
That's the Substack. That's the Substack.
And so he has also like a pen name. So for a long time, he was writing under a different name. And people caught on to this stuff. So here we go. So just so everybody knows what he looks like.
Yeah, this is what this guy looks like. Why are we surprised?
Because when you Google him, one of the first things that comes up is the New York Times did a huge profile on him, like early this year, late last year, something like that. And then there was a corresponding video interview, and it's kind of like in black and white. And like they kind of have him looking like this sort of 90s reality bites kind of guy.
Yeah, they romanticize him a little bit.
They did. And like he's not that cool, guys. Like he's just not. Like this is what he looks like. Okay.
Yeah.
Like what a tool. So anyways, so this is from January 18th of 2025. Who is Curtis Yarvin? Conservative link to J.D. Vance wants monarchy. Okay.
He speaks very openly on this. And as I explain it, Michelle, you can go through you can put up the headlines. So like he speaks very openly about this whole monarchy thing and thinks that like this is the way to go because everyone else is not at their level. He thinks that they're expendable. And he's also a racist, but he says, no, I'm not a white nationalist. Yeah, okay. He also talks about for people who are he said he was joking, but he said that people who are, poor or lower skilled, that they're disposable and we can turn them into biodiesel fuel. Yes. And like run the buses in San Francisco on this, in this new dystopian world that he wants to, create. I mean, he's literally talking about making genocide more humane. Those are quotes that he uses.
It says he proposed Soylent Green. Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah,
I didn't know this.
Oh my God, my mom talks about Soylent Green all the time. She's been talking about this even way before any of this.
Which is crazy.
We're not going to give away the plot to Soylent Green.
No, I need to go watch it now.
You need to watch it. This came out like 40 years ago, maybe 50 now, in the 70s, I think. And it's a very weirdo thing about what they do to people. And so this is exactly what I said when he wants a humane alternative to genocide. That these are all things. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say it says humane alternative to genocide because to your point, Tara, he had said in this, and it was under his pen name that he wrote this. He was 35 years old when he wrote it. He said that these the underclass could be disposed of by making them into biodiesel, but then was like, but, you know, realistically, I don't think that that could really work because human beings don't really want to live in a city that's being fueled by, you know, dead bodies of the underclass.
Right. Ha ha ha. Like it was all a joke. So
But it wasn't a joke.
but it wasn't a joke. Like he really believes this stuff.
Oh yeah,
And
here's the pen name. Mencius Moldbug.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look, these guys are wackadoos, okay? And we want you know, we're not going to be able to get all into this. You know, we've got you know, only
Yeah.
10 minutes left in the show
Yeah.
today, but like we want you to be aware of this and this
Mhm.
whole dark enlightenment movement. When you see Elon Musk wearing dark MAGA and you see the wording and the approach to this and how inhumane it all is, that is part of this. This is by design. There is a whole cabal of these people who think that they should rule the world. And
Yep.
that's and that gives some clarity and a
Yes.
window into what is happening and why. So when Donald Trump puts himself on a fake Time magazine cover as the king, right?
Mhm.
And keeps talking about himself in these terms, that's because these are the people who are in his sphere of influence.
Yes.
This is not Donald Trump is a moron, okay? He's an ignoramus. He may be a good marketer, but he's not a reader. He's not a philosopher. He isn't sitting around at night, you know, at these like Silicon Valley retreats talking about existential notional ideas of political philosophy. He's not doing that. These guys are.
And
And
just
these are
this
the
is
guys
from
that are pulling the
2022.
strings.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want people just to notice that some of the dates go back like a few years.
Yeah.
So like,
No, this has been a thing. It's been out
yeah.
there. It's been out there and it's kind of been under our, you know, out there in full plain view, but no normal people aren't paying attention to this because
And
it
same
feels
thing.
very like highfalutin. Those are those
Well, it
Silicon
feels
Valley guys.
crazy. You feel
Well,
crazy even saying, I mean, I do. You'll see Blake Masters also mentioned here. So he ran for Senate in Arizona against Mark Kelly. And he's another one of Peter Thiel's guys because,
yes.
I mean, whatever, you guys can Google into Peter Thiel and his
Right.
little minions,
Again,
which is a
it's
whole
a
thing.
cabal. It's a cabal. It's a network of these guys. And this is not made up out of whole cloth. And when you
Right.
look at some of the, like even programming, some of the shows that we've been watching over the years where you
Black Mirror.
have these, yeah, like you have this kind of window into this stuff, it's not coming from nowhere because it's out there. And now is the time for the American people to start paying attention to it. We've got to pay attention. My grandfather used to always say that to me every time I left the house. He used to say, Schnookums, pay attention. That is important because when you're not paying attention, they're able to go and do other things. Like this week, a lot of the news has been about Trump turning on Ukraine, which is a big deal. Okay. This is terrible. And they're selling Ukraine, selling them out to Russia. Donald Trump is being used as the useful idiot that he is to Putin. And they're going to sell out Ukraine. And that has been the lead story on a lot of the mainstream media for the last couple of days. Listen, this is important. And my heart breaks and I'm infuriated by this. As someone who, we are democracy defenders here. And that's literally what's happening in Ukraine. Except Donald Trump now is going and turning around calling Zelensky the dictator. And like, it's always a confession, right? The accusation's always a confession.
Projecting.
And but the mainstream media is doing this, covering this at the expense of other stuff.
Of this.
Knew that
I've never seen a single story about this other than in print.
Not one story in the mainstream media. If they knew, especially now, like the door was opened after Trump tweeted that stupid king thing. Like they talked about it a little bit where everyone's like, oh, pearl clutching over a monarchy and the king. Well, yes, but explain why. Give context.
Right.
Give context about this. And, you know, so that's why we're doing this. That's why we wanted to dedicate a certain amount of time on our show today to informing you guys so that you know and spread the word. Because when you see these Republicans out here making excuses for what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing to our government and our democracy, understand that they're being used for a much greater, more horrific purpose here. And so that's why Democrats, I know you all are mad at us because we're putting your feet to the fire too, but that's why you all, that's right, too freaking bad. That's why you all need to stop getting into the weeds about this little policy and this and that and stop wheeling Chuck Schumer out there and start talking more to the American people in plain language about what they're doing and why they're doing it. And why it's going to affect them every day. They want to crash the economy. The
Yes.
crypto bros and all that, they want to crash the economy. So everybody has to have a chip implanted and
Yes.
use cryptocurrency
Yes.
to get around. Okay. This
Well,
is real.
Right. And the reason I've left this headline up, and I'll take it down once when I go through this line here, but it talks about Curtis Yarvin's ideas were fringe. Now they're coursing through Trump's Washington. This was written in Politico right after the inauguration. So for anybody who doesn't know, when there's inauguration, there's like the main ball that people go to, but there's like a bajillion balls,
Right.
and they're all put out by different groups and stuff and
Yep.
parties and whatever.
That's
So
true.
this, so Curtis Yarvin traveled to Washington, D.C. for the Coronation Ball, a glitzy inaugural ball hosted by the ultra-conservative publishing house Passage Press. The gathering, hosted in the ballroom of the Watergate Hotel, was designed to celebrate the ascent of the new conservative counter-elite that has risen to power on the tide of Trump's re-election. And Yarvin, who has arguably done more than anyone to shape the thinking of that nascent group, was an informal guest of honor. I actually looked that vocab word up before we came on to make sure I said it right, and then I didn't. But yeah, so that's kind of that's where we are.
Again, the point is, this guy is no longer fringe. He's in the inner circle. He's in the sphere of influence.
Yep.
And these are the people that are driving what's going on and using Donald Trump, who's on, taking his fat ass golfing instead, while these guys are doing this. And while the Doge is in all of our personal information, they're going after our IRS tax return information. They're going into our bank accounts. They're going, if they seize control of these things, what do we do as citizens? Right. That's why it's so important to keep up the pressure. Keep up. If you can go to protests, go. My mom, God bless her, at 70 years old, went to a protest on Monday in our town where we live. They're happening around the country. Yeah. And I'm sorry if Democrats are annoyed.
My little town where I grew up, they're happening. Which, yes. I mean, not a ton of people, but like enough people are showing up.
Bring attention to it, because as Governor Pritzker said, courage is contagious. It's contagious. And this is the only thing. We've said this repeatedly, that no one is coming to save us but us. And it's going to take they're hoping that we don't pay attention. They're weaponizing the fact that they're flooding the zone with shit. And then when people wake up and pay attention, all of a sudden now it's too late. It doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. So there's still options here to stop these bastards from trying to take our government from us and turn us into some monarchy. I'm not going to let it happen.
No. And, yesterday when I was I felt like I was in a movie kind of watching all this stuff. I'm like, all of a sudden things made sense and it freaked me out. And I was like, I had to sit there and like take a few breaths.
I know.
And I was like, okay, but you know what? It's better to know what we're dealing with. I know what we're dealing with now. I understand it now.
Me
and
too.
It's like what these people are doing. They're trying to create online communities that become a place of shared ideas and thought and beliefs. And then they're going to fund these little ideas, and then they're going to go get some land, and they're going to create new countries, because what they're trying to do is dismantle democracy and government in all the countries all over the world, so that they can create their own currency, crypto, so that they can control everything. And again, as crazy as this stuff sounds, look who has the defense contracts in the United States. Look who controls the media and the social media, the technology that we use, right? Every day, all day long. Who is handling our surveillance? Like all these things. I mean, they have their hands in control of everything that we do.
That's
However, there are times in the history of the world where things, I'm sure, felt as impossible to overcome. But just look at the people of France, what they've been able to push back against time and time again. I think that we can do it too. And to Tara's point, like keep the pressure on, because even Dan Goldman yesterday, I saw him like tweeting or something about, media, don't fall for this, clown buffoon thing, the king thing. And I was like, excuse me, no, you actually do need to pay attention to this. And I said, I hope you guys, I said, I hope you and your staff will take the evening and please read about Curtis Yarvin, because even I didn't know what about it. So
and because we need to take it seriously, all of it. It's not a joke. Just like, I'll be a dictator in day one, not a joke. Only I alone can fix it, not a joke. Let me be a king. I don't. This CPAC is happening this week, okay, with the gathering of all the wackadoo GOP MAGA people and in National Harbor, where they're going to deify Donald Trump and reinforce this cult leader king thing. They're trying to shove this down our throats to desensitize us to this. So we're not going to let that happen. And on that note, we're going to let Michelle get back to her vacation. We wanted to leave you guys with a little bit of a tutorial about that. So you have some homework. And make sure you guys check us out on Saturday for coffee and conversation with our buddies, Julie Roginski and Jojo from Jurors, with our new show, Over It. So that'll be on Saturday as well, if you want to hang out with us. A little bit of a different take from us. But we wanted to make sure you guys were fully informed about that, because if we know, we want to share it with you, because the more you know, the more you can prepare for battle here. And that's part of our job. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week on The Stakes.
Bye, everybody.
There's a shadow president in Washington.
Sitting behind the Resolute desk.
We didn't elect this guy. He wants us to believe he's a self-made man, that he made his billions through hard work and his so-called genius.
He didn't invent the
SpaceX explosion.
But the truth is, he mooched off the American taxpayer.
Pronounced subsidies.
Our money. And he's too arrogant to admit the free ride that we have been giving him. Republicans used to attack folks living off government assistance, calling them welfare queens. But it was all a myth. The real welfare queen is Elon Musk.
We gave him all his money.
And he's coming for more. Our Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, our jobs, our private information, our livelihoods, our safety. And Donald Trump is letting him.
Is there anything you've told Elon Musk he cannot touch?
Well, we haven't discussed that much.
Don't be fooled. This isn't about making government work better for you. It's about making America work for him. Are we going to stand back and stand by and let this happen? Hey, Congress, we're talking to you too. You work for us. Do your job and stop this now.
J.D. Vance, who is now effectively the political heir to the MAGA movement.
We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies. Roe versus Wade is an abomination.
There's something comparable between abortion and slavery.
When asked about the exception for rape, he said rape is inconvenient.
I asked Vance if he thought anti-abortion laws should include exceptions for rape or incest.
Look, I think two wrongs don't make a right.
Have you changed your stance?
Look, Martha, two wrongs don't make a right.
Look at the extraordinarily restrictive policies toward women that he has supported.
J.D. Vance of Ohio told me that Republicans should back a national 15-week abortion ban.
He said you want to ban abortion in Ohio and across this country. Is that true?
Look, I'm pro-life.
J.D. Vance claiming that women having the ability to leave violent and abusive marriages has harmed society.
One of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, and so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term.
You've got J.D. Vance in Ohio running for Senate, talking about childless women are the problem and are destroying the United States.
Cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
If elected, Trump would be the oldest president ever inaugurated, but his campaign still refuses to release his detailed medical records.
What's he hiding? A heartbeat away from him is J.D. Vance.
Quite literally one heartbeat away from the presidency.
Trump is not a fit guy.
Heartbeat away from the presidency.
This man is not well.
Heartbeat away.
78 years old.
I will very quickly deflate defeat. He may not make it.
The vice president becomes the president. Automatically.
What did we learn about what the Vance presidency would be like?
Roe versus Wade is an abomination.
He said rape is inconvenient.
Two wrongs don't make a right. Childless cat ladies. Project 2025. It's a 900-page document. I guarantee there are things that Trump likes.
I'm very happy with the JD pick. Think of him as a member version of what we do.
Kevin Roberts is a friend of mine.
Bloodless, if the left allows it to be.
What an amazing coup this would be for Peter Thiel.
You've benefited from your friendship with Peter Thiel.
Sure.
$15 million.
Do the people who fund your campaigns actually share your values?
He's palling around with people who are skeptical of the 19th Amendment.
If you got
women to have more children.
J.D. Vance wants to allow the tracking of women's menstrual cycles.
You have people using abortion basically as another form of birth control.
Trump refuses to release even the most basic information about his health.
Would you have certified the election in 2020? Yes or no?
Donald Trump had a problem.
Mike Pence will not be on the ticket.
He needed to find a new vice president.
Pence, quote, deserves it.
Different from the last one in one key way.
Trump telling him, you're too honest.
Do you believe he lost the 2020 election?
I think that Donald Trump and I have both raised a number of issues with the 2020 election.
When it comes to Trump choosing a vice presidential candidate, he's looking for one thing.
He needed a liar.
The type of person who will repeat his lies about the 2020 election.
Senator, yes or no? Okay. Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
Let me ask you a question.
Capable of twisting the truth about our democracy.
I've answered your question with another question.
And even our most fundamental freedoms.
I never supported a national ban.
J.D. Vance of Ohio told me that Republicans should back a national 15-week abortion ban.
I certainly would like abortion to be illegal nationally.
I never criticize people for not having kids. A bunch of childless cat ladies.
J.D. Vance cannot be trusted.
He's a flip-flopper. I hate the police, he wrote.
We back the blue.
What I've seen is a chameleon.
Senator
that's
Vance.
the question.
He seems to have just adopted this persona.
I'm going to ask you again.
I'm a never Trump guy.
6 years is not quite never.
I'm extremely skeptical that Mike Pence's life was ever in danger.
Trump needed an accomplice.
Do they think I just give off a used car salesman vibe?
Mission accomplished.
You answer my question and I'll answer yours.
I think this video has made me rethink the 19th Amendment.
Will women have the right to vote tomorrow if you wave that magic Christian wand?
No.
A federal ban on abortion, ban mifepristone, ban stem cell research, and expand access to fertility awareness family planning methods.
If you dress like that and you get raped, and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free.
If you're in your early 30s, I'm sorry, it's like you're not as attractive in the dating pool as you were in the early 20s.
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman.
Yeah, there has to be some form.
These women are getting paid salaries to play for a league that, economically speaking, shouldn't exist.
Abortion's not health care.
We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
The Project 2025 plan is not a game. Look it up.
Jeff Bezos, Sam Altman, and Mark Zuckerberg pledging $1 million donations to the Trump Inauguration Fund.
The ABC settlement for $15 million.
The Los Angeles Times will soon be adding Scott Jennings to their editorial board after the owner is now calling for more conservative voices.
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump.
John Fetterman saying he's a hard yes for Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, posting on Truth Social that he wants Donald Trump to get a pardon.
If there is a way to work with Doge or Elon Musk, I'm going to do that.
This could be a constructive undertaking that ought to be embraced.
Senator Bernie Sanders saying Elon Musk is right. Some Democrats telling ABC News their plan to defeat Republicans in the 2026 midterms is to play nice for now.
It's time to buckle up, Buttercup, because it is about to be on and popping.
I would be worried about Hexbeth running a McDonald's, let alone the Department of Defense. Say goodbye to your smile and say hello to polio.
Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? It is disgusting.
I'm really interested in the Democrats rebuilding Abigail Spanberger, who is running for governor in Virginia.
Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey, a former U.S. Navy helicopter pilot who is now running for governor.
Laguna Pueblo member and Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland is expected to run for governor of New Mexico in 2026.
If Democrats are true to their values, they will do everything they can with the power they have right now, which is limited, to prevent Donald Trump from doing the things that he's already announced that he's going to do.